Zhou Shi, who loves painting and is not doing well academically, luckily gets admission in a third-rate art college because of her talent in painting. Today there was a scholarship awards ceremony funded by Wei Qing, the CEO of Yuma Corporation. In the list, the most unexpected name turned out to be Zhou Shi's. She herself doesn't even believe it. The professor confirms it. While going up to receive the scholarship, she is still in shock, more so upon seeing Wei Qing present. A month before, Zhou Shi applied for an internship at Mountain Art Gallery Hotel. The supervisor was unwilling at first, thinking she set her major wrongly because it did not match the work of hotels, but Zhou Shi managed to convince him that she would be reliable. In reality, she gets ready to confess to her childhood friend, Min Cheng, on Chinese Valentine's Day by proposing. She wants to leave a love letter in that special room where they will watch the meteor shower later. Unfortunately, Zhou Shi still doesn't know that Min Cheng considers her just a friend. While getting ready to receive Min Cheng, chaos erupts in the hotel when the boss arrives with his girlfriend. It turns out that the owner of this hotel is Wei Qing. Not knowing the CEO of the hotel, Zhou Shi takes selfies with a famous painting. The supervisor scolds her and drags her outside to greet the boss. On the parallel side, Wei Qing enters from another door, heads straight for the special room, and cleans it obsessively, throwing away everything in the room, which includes Zhou Shi's love letter. It just so happens that Wei Qing has heavy OCD and is allergic to human touch. He raises several complaints with the supervisor regarding the cleanliness of the room and demands a personal butler who would be at his beck and call all day, a penalty against what Zhou Shi did earlier. Zhou Shi returns to his room in hopes of finding her lost letter, only to find everything rearranged, including the letter. While setting up the wardrobe, Wei Qing notices a letter in her suit. Accidentally, her hand touches Wei Qing's face. He immediately goes into OCD and has allergic reactions to touch, scolding her before handing her a phone and telling her to contact him only when necessary. At dinner, Zhou Shi recognizes Wei Qing's girlfriend as Ran Yu from Min Cheng's university, one of the most popular girls. Wei Qing believes Ran Yu to be the girl who once saved him from drowning because he didn't have an allergic reaction with her at that time. However, when she fails to recognize a locket associated with the incident, his doubts start to increase, and he starts breaking out with allergic reactions at her touch. Zhou Shi looks for her lost letter and tries to ask Ran Yu to help in exchange for contraceptives. Wei Qing overhears this and, in anger, tells her to leave. After running an errand to the supermarket, she is informed that she has been fired. Angry, Zhou Shi hides in Wei Qing's car, demanding her letter. The two argue as they drive along until Zhou Shi can get away when the car hits a pothole. Meanwhile, Min Cheng and his friends arrive at the hotel, calling Zhou Shi to lecture her for failing to show up. Zhou Shi and Wei Qing continue arguing as they make their way to a bus stop until they board a bus, still bickering. Coincidentally, the meteor shower occurs, which they are able to watch together. As Wei Qing leaves, Zhou Shi threatens that she will never leave him alone until he returns her letter. Curious about Zhou Shi, Wei Qing lets his assistant gather information about her. He lets her stay at the hotel since he finds out she is there for the meteor shower with friends. Later on, Zhou Shi tries to confess to Min Cheng but was not able to due to the presence of other people. The next day, Wei Qing traces the love letter written by Zhou Shi to an attached ring similar to the design of a locket that the girl who saved him had been wearing. This finding makes him suspect that perhaps Zhou Shi could be the girl from the lake. Back in university, Zhou Shi goes back to her messy dorm. Sick of it, she immediately moves in with her friend Fei, who lives with another girl, Kuai Jing. At the same time, Zhou Shi is reminded by her friend Shuai that she had an unfinished holiday assignment for the Yuma scholarship. She spends little time painting the view of a meteor shower she once watched with Wei Qing. Her professor forwards it to Wei Qing, who approves her for the scholarship. In the present, Zhou Shi thanks him and apologizes for her conduct back then. Wei Qing leans into her close enough to be personal, reminding her that they have met before, and slips the lost locket into her pocket. Much later, Zhou Shi realizes that she was the girl who saved him that night by the lake. Zhou Shi goes to buy paint but cannot afford her favorite color. Then a boy named Ning Fei bumps into her and gives her the color she wants before he leaves without apologizing. Later, it turns out that Ning Fei is the popular painter Shunran, whom Zhou Shi admires. Wei Qing goes to see a doctor about his allergy, suspecting Zhou Shi can solve his problem. Min Cheng celebrates Zhou Shi's scholarship, encouraging her to pursue postgraduate studies. Meanwhile, Zhou Shi receives a mysterious call from Ning Fei and misinterprets it to be a perverted call. Turns out, Ning Fei had shifted to the apartment above theirs and accidentally received Fei parcel. Later, she visits Ning Fei's apartment with Fei, who accidentally breaks one of his bowls. Feeling guilty, Fei cannot afford to replace it, so Zhou Shi takes the responsibility on. While working at a club, Zhou Shi runs into Wei Qing again, and he recognizes her. He gives her a very expensive necklace and makes her curious as to how he obtained it. Zhou Shi catches a conversation between two men plotting to beat up Wei Qing. She rushes to him and quickly leads him away before they catch them up. A fight ensues, with Zhou Shi helping Wei Qing, thereby getting hurt herself. The security comes, and the attackers run away. Wei Qing takes Zhou Shi to the hospital and offers to pay her bills, but she refuses. Instead, Zhou Shi asks him to help her with her theory lessons, to which Wei Qing, now a temporary lecturer at her university, agrees and assigns her homework. Later, Zhou Shi gets entangled in Ning Fei's troubles. Ning Fei fainted in the bathtub due to his low blood sugar and was taken to the hospital with the help of Zhou Shi and Fei. Cleaning Ning Fei's house, Zhou Shi learns from Wei Qing's mother, He Yun, that Ning Fei's father used to be a very famous potter and that the bowl Fei broke meant a lot to him as his father made it. He Yun then tells them that Ning Fei's parents passed away when he was still a child and her family adopted him. Wei Qing visits Ning Fei in the hospital and thinks back to when he was adopted, the way his parents favored Ning Fei and put up a barrier between them. Wei Qing thinks to himself of the hatred that he had felt toward Ning Fei. Both training in the arts together, Ning Fei was always one step ahead. Meanwhile, Zhou Shi tries to fix the broken bowl but does not succeed. She finds a pottery shop online and goes there. The shop, in fact, is Wei Qing's. She asks him to fix the bowl and explains how it meant a lot to her friend. Wei Qing agrees to fix the bowl, but on one condition: either she needs to be his girlfriend or she needs to kiss him. Zhou Shi, after some hesitation, agrees to kiss him on the cheek. The bowl is then given to him for repair. Later, Wei Qing visits his mother, He Yun, who sends him away, saying that she is busy finding the bowl and taking care of Ning Fei. Wei Qing shows her the repaired bowl. Instead of thanking him, He Yun scolds him for having the bowl, doubting his intentions, and so Wei Qing requests Ning Fei come in person to apologize if he wants the bowl. Feeling angry and jealous that his mother loves and cares more for Ning Fei than him, Wei Qing angrily runs away in a huff. That night, Wei Qing goes to the club to drink excessively. Ran Yu then arrives to comfort him but was confronted by Wei Qing as he accused her of hiring people to attack him, telling her to leave him alone and not to pursue him anymore, that he has found his true girlfriend, as he even shows her a photo of Zhou Shi, after which she couldn't utter a word. The next day, Zhou Shi goes to collect the bowl from Wei Qing. Excited, she unpacks it, and Wei Qing smashes it in front of her. Yelling at him, Wei Qing reveals he has an exactly similar bowl but asks her to do a ritual before he hands it to her. Zhou Shi reluctantly agrees, but during the ritual, Wei Qing kisses her on the lips to test his allergy. Shocked, Zhou Shi pulls away, afraid the bowl will fall. She sets it down on a table and then shoves Wei Qing away. He stumbles and knocks over antiques. Although Zhou Shi quickly retreats with the bowl, Wei Qing sends pictures of the broken antiques to her, saying she owes him millions in damages. Wei Qing takes advantage of the situation to keep Zhou Shi close. On the other side, Ning Fei starts eating again after having gotten his bowl back, and He Yun is delighted. She gives a reward to Fei and asks her to continue keeping an eye on Ning Fei. Fei agrees, though very reluctantly. Zhou Shi feels bad about the damages that Wei Qing says she owes, because, in her mind, this recalls memories of how debt collectors once destroyed her family's home for her father running away without paying a huge debt. Now her debt is in the millions. At this very instant, she receives a message about her scholarship money and feels somewhat relieved. Wei Qing is invited to a ball, and after being told that Zhou Shi is attending, he decides to go. In the meantime, he finds out that Ning Fei has been discharged from the hospital to his father's old studio, which now belongs to Wei Qing. Wei Qing is furious and puts in an order to throw Ning Fei out. When Ning Fei returns home, he discovers that he has been locked out and the locks have been changed. Homeless, he sits in a children's park. Zhou Shi finds him there and, with concern, invites him to her apartment. Zhou Shi tells her friends about Ning Fei's situation, and they agree to let him stay with them for the time being. Ning Fei falls asleep on the sofa the instant he sits down. Later, Zhou Shi receives a call from her mother, who says that the family situation back home is not good either. Zhou Shi had been sending money home now. With her piling debt, she felt that her bad luck was suffocating. At this moment, Ning Fei knocks on her door, saying he is hungry. Zhou Shi cooks him noodles, and they eat quietly. For the first time, Ning Fei speaks properly to Zhou Shi. Later, the next day, Zhou Shi arrives at Wei Qing's office, ready to make the deal as she needs money for her family. Wei Qing closes the deal, pulling her close and telling her that from now on, she must not leave his side. Later, after the contract was signed, Wei Qing assigns her to accompany him to a ball and memorize all the names of the guests. Zhou Shi starts to feel anxious because she tries to memorize everything. Meanwhile, Fei prepares a noodle dish for Ning Fei. However, the noodles are badly cooked, and Ning Fei quickly disposes them, saying they taste like poison. Fei storms out of the house with the trash. On her way out, she trips and falls, but Ning Fei saves her just in time. The two of them are standing outside when Fei's ex-boyfriend appears. Fei, who is still angry at him, introduces Ning Fei as her new boyfriend and chases her ex away before Ning Fei can resist. Later, Fei says something about He Yun, which makes Ning Fei angry. He rebukes her and tells her that she must not say a word against his aunt whatever problem she may have. Meanwhile, Zhou Shi works hard and memorizes the names of the ball guests. The next day, she tells Wei Qing she hasn't eaten or slept well on account of the stress. To her surprise, Wei Qing says that he no longer needs the information. Instead, this is now her real task, finding Miss Susie, the heiress of a major fashion company whose identity is not known. Wei Qing gets Zhou Shi ready by getting an expensive dress for her, and so they attend the ball. At the party, Zhou Shi starts her task in finding Susie, but gets distracted because she can't take the dizziness in her high heels. A man notices her dress and asks if she is Wei Qing's girlfriend and identifies himself as Wei Qing's uncle. Then, he proceeds to speak poorly about Wei Qing. Ran Yu finally arrives at the party in the same outfit Susie is wearing. Wei Qing comments that Susie looks better than Ran Yu in the dress. This action upsets Ran Yu. She steps on Susie's dress and tears it, but Wei Qing quickly sews it back together. Susie is impressed by this gesture. Wei Qing searches for Zhou Shi at the ball, and Susie, intrigued with him, asks her assistant about him. The assistant affirms that indeed Wei Qing is the man Susie has been waiting to meet, and this gets Susie excited. Zhou Shi's matters start to get ruder with Wei Qing's uncle. Wei Qing arrives at just the right time. Still angry, Zhou Shi slaps the uncle. Wei Qing supports her, leading her away and thanking her for finding out who Susie was in time to help lock in a collaboration with her company. On the other side of town, Fei and her ex-boyfriend make amends and kiss and make up. Wei Qing starts changing Zhou Shi's lifestyle, sending cars for her, making her attend meetings, and even arranging a car to take her to university. The sudden attention makes Zhou Shi popular but burdens her too, as she now needs to accompany Wei Qing everywhere, even for small meals. Gossip of her being Wei Qing's girlfriend spreads, and eventually, Zhou Shi faces suspension from university due to these rumors. The debt and the contract have made Zhou Shi feel trapped. Wei Qing learns that Susie likes Shunran's designs and wants to work with him. It really infuriates Wei Qing because all his plans keep getting messed up by Shunran. In order to confirm the collaboration, Wei Qing orders Ningfei to continue to work as Shunran, threatening to expose family secrets if he refuses. Zhou Shi falls sick at home and calls Fei for assistance. Fei, who has gone out shopping, asks her boyfriend to deliver some medicine to Zhou Shi, but he tries to take advantage of Zhou Shi's helpless state. Fei arrives just in time and intercepts the scoundrel, smashing a bottle over his head. The action upsets Fei too, who has by now grown to like him. Ningfei finds out that Zhou Shi is in debt to Wei Qing and he warns her to be prepared for anything. Zhou Shi does some research on the antiques that she broke and finds that they are hanging in an exhibition. She was furious and thus set up a confrontation with Wei Qing, claiming he cheated her by giving her fake antiques on purpose. Wei Qing feels that she has finally figured things out and tears up their contract, telling her that she is his girlfriend now and the most important person in his life. Zhou Shi refuses him and walks away, but Wei Qing warns her she can't escape him. At university, gossip about Zhou Shi still prevails, although she has now been allowed to join again. Meanwhile, Min Cheng becomes obsessed with a mysterious girl who has beaten his gaming records and learns eventually the girl is Kuai Jing. He tells Zhu Shi about this but doesn't mention her name. As Zhu Shi returns home, her apartment is full of presents and roses from Wei Qing. She immediately gets irritated and goes to give the flowers to a shop. While she is on her way, with the roses on the bicycle, Wei Qing just appears, and Zhou Shi gives the flowers to him. She gets nervous and falls off the bike, so Wei Qing picks her up. Meanwhile, a sad Fei, upset from her recently broken relationship, is being comforted by Ningfei. He then shows his sketchbook to Fei and Fei is shocked to find the sketch of Zhu Shi inside. Realizing that Ningfei has feelings for Zhou Shi, Fei promises she will be able to keep this secret. Wei Qing, in his desperation to see Zhou Shi, gave roses to everybody and forcibly picked her up. They struggled, and Wei Qing lost his balance and fell on top of her, which resulted in an unplanned kiss. Zhou Shi, in great anger, pushed him away. Wei Qing blamed her for hitting him, and that caused the fall. Zhou Shi sits down at a bench, exasperated, while Wei Qing approaches her excitedly from the kiss to take a look at her injury. He had suggested going to the hospital, but Zhou Shi refused, irritably. Wei Qing insisted that she takes rest at home, then Zhou Shi snapped and said she needed to walk to university. Wei Qing offers to send a driver down if she agrees to be his girlfriend, to which Zhou Shi once again rejects his offer. He, in turn, wasn't fazed and told her they could at least be friends and hands her the ring that she had dropped earlier. Meanwhile, Kuai Jing tells Fei that Ningfei is actually rich using his ATM card. She had found he had a huge amount in his account. However, Ningfei lives modestly and does all the housework. Hearing this from Kuai Jing, Fei gets touched by his humility and starts caring for him. On the other hand, Zhou Shi loses her purse containing all her savings. Furious and overwhelmed with her bad luck, she accidentally breaks her phone. Desperate for money, she starts working in a nightclub to send money home. Wei Qing overhears her talking about not having money for food, so he sends supplies to her house. When Zhou Shi calls to confront him, Wei Qing brushes it off and invites her to his office if she wants to talk. Zhou Shi borrows money for a taxi to visit him, and Wei Qing receives her with a prepared feast instead of listening to what she has to say. Perceiving his behavior as uncaring, an angry Zhou Shi leaves, but Wei Qing seeks her out to apologize, explaining he only wanted to help as a friend, driving her home. When Zhou Shi opens the supplies later, she finds groceries. Touched, she thanks him for the very first time to thank him, which makes him happy. In the meantime, Fei continued to look after Ningfei in anticipation of a reward. He, however, told her that he had donated all his money to charity. She was so shocked that she threw him out of her room. The following morning, she woke up and found Ningfei sleeping beside her. For a moment, she was charmed, but in a fit of anger, she threw him out of bed. Much later, Fei found Ningfei donating to an orphanage and thus softened up toward him. The next morning, Zhou Shi rushes to university. Outside her house, on a bicycle, Wei Qing surprises her by offering to take her there. He points out that her phone clock is wrong because the screen is broken, then takes her phone and replaces it with his watch, saying it is cheap. Zhou Shi cannot understand why such an important person like Wei Qing would go out of his way for her. Later, Kuai Jing plays against Min Cheng. In great confidence, Min Cheng challenges her. She then wins the game easily, and he is impressed enough to invite her into his team. She replies that she will consider the invitation. Fei points to the expensive watch Zhou Shi is wearing and teases her about selling it, implying Wei Qing has feelings for her. Zhou Shi paranoidly decides to return the watch. She tries to return the watch to him, but just as she is about to do so, her mother calls to say that loan sharks are after them because her father has taken out a loan in Zhou Shi's name. Alarmed, Zhou Shi returns the watch to Wei Qing. His assistant gives her a bag to take home, and her mother reveals Zhou Shi's father assumed Wei Qing was their future son-in-law, which led him to take the loan. Just then, some loan sharks show up, but upon searching Zhou Shi's bag and finding money in it, they leave. Zhou Shi is left perplexed and angry. At home, Zhou Shi tries to explain to her mother that there's nothing romantic between her and Wei Qing. Later on, Zhou Shi meets Wei Qing and discusses the money in her bag. Fei asks to borrow Wei Qing's watch, saying she has to go for a job interview, and Zhou Shi agrees. Confronted by Zhou Shi, Wei Qing confesses, "I overheard one of your conversations, thought you needed help, so I slipped the money in your bag." Grateful, Zhou Shi promises to repay him, but Wei Qing suggests she doesn't need to if she becomes his girlfriend. Outraged, Zhou Shi throws the check he offers her in his face and storms off. Wei Qing smiles, knowing full well she will come around. Fei comes to the job interview wearing Wei Qing's watch. Wei Qing's uncle sees her on the CCTV and mistakenly thinks she is his new girlfriend. On the spot, he hires her. Meanwhile, Zhou Shi gets fired from her bar job at Wei Qing's behest. While she's leaving, she overhears some loan shark goons talking about how Wei Qing paid off her father's debt and hired them to scare her family. Enraged, Zhou Shi makes them confess and storms into Wei Qing's office in a rage. Wei Qing denies orchestrating the situation but pesters her to be his girlfriend. Annoyed, Zhou Shi almost slaps him but is held back in time by the assistant. Then, Zhou Shi receives a call from the university about overdue tuition fees, further stressing her. Without a job, she feels lost. The club manager gets her a job in another bar, but there too, there is pressure to drink with customers for money. She succumbs to the pressure as desperation takes its toll. Wei Qing's uncle records the scene and sends it to Wei Qing, who rushes down to that bar to her rescue. After sobering her up, Wei Qing scolds her for risking her safety for money and offers her the funds she needs. Then Zhou Shi starts blaming all of her bad luck on him, and then runs to the dressing room to change. The manager of the bar follows after her, trying to harass her, but Wei Qing comes at the right time and beats him up, pulling Zhou Shi out. Zhou Shi still firmly believes that Wei Qing has created the situation just so he can appear as a savior in front of her. She furiously runs away, asking him to stay away from her life. Later, Zhou Shi is in despair because of her financial situation. Ning Fei sends her a message, recommending an art gallery run by Mrs. He Yun. She goes to the gallery and finds paintings from the famous artist Shunran. Impressed by Ning Fei's recommendation, Mrs. He Yun hires her without telling her that Ning Fei is actually Shunran. Meanwhile, Zhou Shi still remembers Min Cheng's birthday and anxiously looks for a good present for him. To help her, Kuai Jing then asks him if he can try to figure out what he likes as a gift, and Min Cheng responds with hints of wanting a pompous present. Of course, Kuai Jing tries to avoid his responses and insists on a meaningful present instead. At the gallery the next day, Zhou Shi runs into Wei Qing, who is revealed to indirectly own the place through his company. He is against his mother, insisting that she make the gallery more lucrative with famous artists. But He Yun wants true talent and does not want to give in. She tells him that he only has 20% of the shares and will not be able to make decisions. Wei Qing frustratedly leaves. Zhou Shi is shocked to see this. Wei Qing remembers how he has always resisted his parents, but even more so since Ning Fei came into his life. Everything got worse after the death of his father, with him and his mother living in a tense atmosphere. Wei Qing had really wanted to work things out with his mother, but their disagreements always ended with him sitting alone in a park, lost in thoughts of his father. In the meantime, the chance meetings between Fei and Ning Fei inch closer, with Fei's racing heart. However, Fei makes a strong turn of resolve to find another boyfriend and move on in life. Finally, Zhou Shi catches Wei Qing, for what feels like the first time since work, alone and seeming fragile in the park. She approaches him and he speaks candidly about his allergies, then admits to being money-driven. Zhou Shi offers some poignant advice: money is not everything. Wei Qing wells up as he asks to be friends again, and Zhou Shi is taken by his sincerity. At work, Fei Ai meets Wei Qing's uncle, who is flirting with her and gives her a very costly brooch. Fei Ai proudly shows it at home, amazed at his generosity. Zhou Shi shares in the conversation that she and Wei Qing have rekindled their friendship, but everyone warns her to be wary of him. Zhou Shi defends Wei Qing by saying he is not as rude as he seems to be, and actually he is lonely with no close friends. Fei Ai and Ning Fei head home, and Fei teases Ning Fei playfully with chocolates. On a whim, Ning Fei has a piece of chocolate from Fei's mouth, which turns into an accidental kiss. They are both shocked and caught in embarrassment, while Fei storms away in a fluster. Wei Qing decides not to use money to help Zhou Shi and asks his assistant to investigate her life. The assistant learns from Fei that Zhou Shi will propose to Min Chang. Wei Qing decided to help her. Qiu Yujing gives Min Chang 3,000 sheets of paper after he mentioned that he wanted a solar system set, but it was too expensive. She invites him to draw the solar system himself on the paper. Later, Wei Qing meets up with Zhou Shi and then shows her a video where Min Chang describes his ideal girl: smart, with short hair and casual dresses. Heartbroken but determined, Zhou Shi lets Wei Qing give her a makeover to fit Min Chang's type. Soon after, she realizes that her new look resembles Qiu Ying and is left to wonder whether she is the girl Min Chang likes. Whenever she asks Min Chang secretly, he tells her that Qiu Yujing is just a rival. Hence, Zhou Shi starts to feel relieved and becomes more determined in proposing. Zhou Shi asks Ning Fei about Wei Qing's father's death, but Ning Fei doesn't know since his aunt never said much. Wei Qing helps Zhou Shi rehearse how to propose by pretending to be Min Chang. In this rehearsal, the moment is so intimate that they almost kiss until Wei Qing's assistant walks in and snaps them out of it. Meanwhile, Fei attends a party with Wei Qing's uncle and makes Ning Fei feel uneasy knowing his uncle's dubious nature. For Min Chang's birthday, Zhou Shi prepares a special gift inspired by Qiu Yujing and a forever alone gift for Wei Qing. Of course, Zhou Shi attends the party with a totally new look that drops everybody's jaw in surprise. However, instead of complimenting her, Min Chang exclaims that she looks really weird. He immediately gets occupied talking with his friends and completely ignores Zhou Shi. Qiu Jing notices Zhou Shi's discomfort and removes the wig off her head, leaving Zhou Shi in humiliation. Ran Yu gives Min Chang an expensive camera, outdoing Zhou Shi's present. As if that was not enough, the forever alone present that was supposed to be given to Wei Qing was replaced with Min Chang's, further embarrassing her. Wei Qing opens his gift at home and finds the mix-up. He rushes to return it to Zhou Shi. Meanwhile, Fei is worried that Ning Fei hasn't returned home yet, so she leaves the party to find him. After the party, Wei Qing finds an upset and drunk Zhou Shi, taking her back to his house. Fei finds Ning Fei playing with a cat. She scolds him first before dragging him back home. At Wei Qing's house, Zhou Shi tearfully confesses her pain because of her unrequited love. Too overwhelmed, she kisses Wei Qing. The next morning, Zhou Shi starts waking up disoriented at Wei Qing's house, confused and unable to find her clothes. She then walks around the house in her robe, searching for answers. Wei Qing was having a video conference meeting when she bursts in, demanding to know who undressed her. Wei Qing calmly closes his laptop and teases her that there's no one else here but me. Zhou Shi furiously starts hitting him, and Wei Qing further teases her. Then he explains that the housemaid changed Zhou Shi's clothes because she was too drunk, which brings some relief to Zhou Shi. On the other side, Qiu Yujing and Min Chang are really getting closer to each other. Wei Qing sees Zhou Shi off to university. Her professor informs her that her scholarship money has been increased to cover fees now. Overjoyed, Zhou Shi calls Wei Qing to thank him, but he tells her that Min Chang has applied for an internship at his company. So this shocks Zhou Shi, as she felt that he was to go ahead with his studies. She asked him to interview him personally, to which he agreed. During the interview, Min Chang impressed Wei Qing with his knowledge. Wei Qing employed him for the finance department. Rumors began spreading that Wei Qing intends to sell off the Yunma Art Gallery, and company shares began sliding. Wei Qing finally curbed the rumors. Min Chang celebrates his new job by throwing a party where Ran Yu says she is also joining Yunma Corporation. She attempts to get nearer to Min Chang and angers Zhou Shi, who states she will also join Yunma. However, when asked in what department, Zhou Shi sheepishly admits she'll be working the front desk, while Min Chang and Ran Yu are official workers. Zhou Shi resigns from the art gallery, wherein Suzy has come to buy one of Shunren's paintings. Zhou Shi realizes the paintings are signed up as Ran. She never noticed that before. Meanwhile, Fei and Ning Fei run into Wei Qing's uncle, who flirts with Fei again. Later, Zhou Shi finds Wei Qing talking to Suzy. His mother has sold the shares of the gallery to Suzy. Distracted by this news, Wei Qing is unable to focus on Zhou Shi. That night, Ning Fei works on designs for the company and amazes Zhou Shi with his talent. She finds in his room a painting similar to Shunran's and interrogates him about it. Ning Fei says he replicates Shunran's paintings. That is revealed to be that Wei Qing told Ningfei about his mom's decision to sell the gallery, so he worked even harder to save the gallery. Min Cheng, Ran Yu, and Zhou Shi all join Yuma Corporation. Wei Qing assigns Min Cheng to review the company's accounts and makes Zhou Shi his personal assistant, simply to keep her around him. Zhou Shi and Ran Yu must work together at every opportunity. Ran Yu is offering to help. Meanwhile, Wei Qing's uncle keeps showering Fei with expensive gifts to win her affection. One evening, Min Cheng comes to see Yu Jing for assistance with his account work. Zhou Shi tries to help but then quickly feels herself that she does not know anything and leaves. Wei Qing, who has found his mother's whereabouts, goes to see her and bumps into Ningfei. He attempts to convince his mother that Susie is after only her own ends, but she refuses to listen, accusing him of being after money. She storms off and leaves Wei Qing heartbroken. Wei Qing returns home, hauntingly scarred. In a flashback, after his father died, he inherited everything. He refused to take over but did so after reading the letter from his father. His mother accused him of being responsible for his father's death and took Ningfei with her. His guilt about his father's death turned into nightmares and a psychological disorder where he's allergic to human touch. In the morning, Min Cheng finishes the job with Yu Jing's help. Because Zhu Shi stayed up late and slept in the office, Wei Qing found her and let her sleep on the sofa in his office. She wakes up, remembering the kiss with Wei Qing, and in a daze heads toward the coffee. Being quite nervous, she spits coffee on Wei Qing. Ashamed, she apologizes and then runs away fast. Fei posted a photo with Wei Qing's uncle on her webpage, although his face was hidden, which caused a stir among her friends, and they requested she introduce him to them at their class reunion. Wei Qing gave Zhu Shi a necklace and invited her to attend a party with him as his bodyguard. Zhou Shi, in her attempt to try too hard, irritated Wei Qing, who asked her to step aside so he might talk with Susie. All of Wei Qing's ex-girlfriends show up, and his uncle has invited them. Wei Qing freaks out at the sight of them and runs away. When Zhou Shi finds out Wei Qing's uncle doesn't show up at Fei's party, she asks Ningfei to go along to keep Fei company. During the party, Wei Qing is clueless while trying to handle his exes and experiencing an allergic reaction from physical contact. This finally saddens Zhu Shi when he confides in her that he has been testing his allergy with her since she has built a certain liking towards him. Meanwhile, Wei Qing's uncle was jealous of him and had been undermining him in everything, including even in pursuit of his ex-girlfriends. Fei now knows that uncle is actually a no-good man and stays away from him. Zhou Shi protects Wei Qing as he discovers his uncle's suspicious activities, planning for a confrontation. Zhou Shi also discovers that Ningfei is the secret painter Shunran and confides in her about his identity. Tensions break when Fei's ex-boyfriend runs into her. It culminates into a fight, where again Wei Qing's allergy flares up in trying to protect them all. After the fight, Wei Qing's mother comes in and blames him for Ningfei's condition, which makes them turn against each other. Zhou Shi tries to mediate between them, but fails. Later, she catches Wei Qing at his most vulnerable and tends to his wounds. Meanwhile, Fei struggles with her feelings toward Ningfei and is also concerned about the relationship between Zhu Shi and Ningfei. Later, Zhou Shi and Wei Qing end up sleeping through into the night, holding hands. Zhou Shi realizes that her final exams are looming and starts studying with the help of Wei Qing after some initial setbacks. Zhou Shi gets frustrated with Wei Qing's rigid method of teaching, and soon after, she starts catching up. They study through the late nights, which draws them closer, and now they have a solid friendship. Wei Qing gives a surprising birthday to Zhou Shi with a cake and decorating the room. Later on, Zhou Shi does well in her exam. Wei Qing prepares a surprise birthday for Zhou Shi, in which she plans to confess her love to Min Cheng. Min Cheng has his own plan to confess his love to Yu Jing, wearing a shirt with a scientific formula that spells out, "I love you." Zhou Shi eventually runs away in tears after Min Cheng's failed confession to Yu Jing. She is caught by Wei Qing, comforted, and they kiss. Wei Qing advises Zhou Shi that she should confess her feelings to Min Cheng at least once so that she can move on, even if rejected. He surprises her by giving her the letter she had left at the hotel, which she thought was lost. At last, when Zhou Shi proposes, Min Cheng tells Zhou Shi she'll always be like a sister to him. Without regrets, Zhou Shi wishes him well and leaves. Upon noticing some corrections on her letter, she realizes Wei Qing had read it. Thinking back to their memories, she decides to move on, tearing up the letter and letting it blow away. At home, her friends welcomes her warmly. Yu Jing apologizes and they make up. Zhou Shi thanks Wei Qing for his encouragement and gives him part of her salary to pay him back for helping her with her father's debts. Ningfei celebrates Zhou Shi's birthday by gifting her the ownership of his paintings. At the gallery, Zhou Shi introduces Ningfei to Susie, who stares at him. Ningfei asks if they met before. Susie refuses and she walks away. Susie secretly has a photo of Ningfei and a girl from childhood. One can learn through a flashback that Susie is actually Ran, a girl who cut her hair and acted like a boy. She met Ningfei, who was often bullied, and became his protector. Ningfei trusted her deeply, unaware she was a girl. Now, Susie is a successful businesswoman investing in Yunma Arts and Shunren Gallery shares. Meanwhile, Ran Yu tells Shuai that this is his chance to win Zhou Shi. Shuai tries to approach her while she's asleep, but Wei Qing manages to arrive just in time to warn Shuai. Wei Qing whisks Zhou Shi away, and they head to Dr. Chen's house to discuss Wei Qing's condition. Dr. Chen explains that when Zhou Shi touches him, Wei Qing doesn't have an allergic reaction, which means he is trusting her. The closer she is in proximity to him, the faster he will recover. Zhou Shi asks what she should do, to which Dr. Chen replies that she should try small changes for a start. The next morning, Zhou Shi tries to get Wei Qing up early. He doesn't respond. She enters from the back of the house and reminds him of the rules: maintain distance and observe the interactions with people. Zhou Shi also asks him why he doesn't like shuai and cats. Wei Qing avoids answering. He later learns that his mother transferred her shares to his uncle, making him the largest shareholder in Yoma Gallery. Later, Suzy summons Wei Qing for a meeting with his uncle. Suzy proudly proclaims herself now the biggest shareholder, having 35% as opposed to his uncle's 33% and his 32%. She propositions him for a deal collaboration with Shunren's exclusive designs in return for letting Wei Qing's mother stay director and maintaining the family name. Zhou Shi takes Wei Qing to a crowded place in order to help him face his condition. His body reacts poorly, so Zhou Shi covers his eyes and puts headphones on him as a way to quieten him enough so he could walk through the crowd. Afterwards, they ate together, and Wei Qing thanked her for that and said it is the start of recovery. Zhou Shi decides to move into Wei Qing's house to help him more effectively. That night, Zhou Shi goes to the guest room. However, Wei Qing invites her to sleep beside him. Zhou Shi refuses, threatening to leave his side if he continues to talk like that. Wei Qing insists he won't do anything. He asks her to trust him. Yet, Zhou Shi still refuses and sleeps in the guest room. Meanwhile, the uncle of Wei Qing asks his mother about Suzy's shares. He tells her how Suzy fooled them and is currently in the majority. He suggests that Wei Qing give his shares to his uncle in order to regain control as majority. Wei Qing says that he will agree to this provided his mother is the first to talk to him. That night, Wei Qing plays games until 3 a.m. and disturbs Zhou Shi. She scolds him. Wei Qing invites her to play with him. Zhou Shi refuses and goes back to her room. Wei Qing teases her, saying if she doesn't bring her blanket, he won't let her sleep. Frustrated, Zhou Shi brings her blanket and they fall asleep on the sofa. The next morning, Zhou Shi collects her results at university as Wei Qing is having to face his fear of using a public elevator for the first time. Much to his stress, he makes it through. His employees are in a state of shock as Wei Qing greets them, saying, "Good morning." The news spreads it's the first time the president greeted them. Shuai invites Zhou Shi on a ride, but she says she has work. Wei Qing drives her home with his scooter, which angers Shuai. Wei Qing meets his mother to offer her his shares if she takes hers back from his uncle. Later on, Zhou Shi takes him to a movie theater to help him be in crowds longer. However, Wei Qing had to buy extra tickets so that the area around them remained empty. Zhou Shi's friends, who sat far away, became suspicious of Wei Qing's weird request. Upon reaching home, Yu Jing confronts Zhou Shi and finally realizes why Wei Qing always wore masks and gloves in the first place: his allergies. Zhou Shi explains that the doctors told her she needed to be near him so as to help his recovery. Although she is not sure, Zhou Shi agrees to sleep in the same room in order for him to recover. Wei Qing is glad, but Zhou Shi feels uneasy. That night, Zhou Shi does not get into the room until she absolutely must. They lie on the bed and Wei Qing extends his hand so that he will not have nightmares and sleep well. Zhou Shi takes his hand and they sleep holding hands, but she is still nervous. The next morning, Zhou Shi sees Wei Qing sprawled across the bed. She hurries to get up and falls, feeling her face heat up. Wei Qing joins her, saying he slept very well. Zhou Shi still takes Wei Qing out in public since they are together. He shows no allergic reactions. They had spent more time together, and their bond is deeper. They would go to crowded places and sleep comfortably. Even their movie watching is never disturbed. Their friends notice it and tease them, asking them whether they had become partners. Zhou Shi and Wei Qing denied, but their friends insisted, and this was the behavior of lovers. This makes Zhou Shi question her feelings. Was she starting to like Wei Qing? Zhou Shi asks him that night if he feels something special for her. Wei Qing admits he has grown closer with her and started to like her more. Zhou Shi was blushing, turned away yet began to think maybe he really likes me. Then all of a sudden, Wei Qing pulls her close and grasps her hand as they sleep. Nervous, Zhou Shi immediately blushed and quickly fell asleep. The next morning, she woke up with a smile, and Wei Qing showed her a photo of her sleeping with a big smile on her face. Recognizing her embarrassment, Zhou Shi ran away as she remembered having dreamed of kissing Wei Qing on their wedding day. Now, she wasn't sure if she really liked him. Then Zhou Shi focuses on Wei Qing's treatment and helps him face his biggest fear: cats. She blindfolds him, then brings him into a room full of cats, not knowing that he is terribly afraid of cats. Wei Qing collapses and is immediately brought to the hospital. Zhou Shi goes into a panic, blaming herself, feeling so guilty. Dr. Chen arrives, and it provokes a flashback of the traumatic incident in Wei Qing's childhood. Ningfei's cat was killed, which leads to misunderstandings with his father. Many sleepless nights over this event stress him so much that he needs an injection to relax. While recovering from his breakdown, word has gotten out about his mental health, but he gradually regains his strength with the help of Zhou Shi. Zhou Shi is feeling guilty for pushing him too hard and wants him to focus on recovery for now. Wei Qing is informed that their mother's health has deteriorated and that he should take care of her. He relents and begins training again, his bond with Zhou Shi strengthened. They are seen playing with each other, which normalizes their relationship after an emotional encounter. Wei Qing transfers his shares to his uncle to reinstate their mother to the gallery's directorship, and Susie then lets him know she has been protecting his interests in that matter. Meanwhile, Zhou Shi is considering having a rest from their relationship, and Wei Qing is having difficulty with that. He concludes that he needs her, and when he tells her friends that he cannot sleep without her, they are in shock. Wei Qing tries to reach out to Zhou Shi but doesn't get an answer. With the help of his assistant, Wei Qing reaches the place where Zhou Shi is staying and arranges for all the students to be transferred to a luxurious hotel, doubling the payment. The hotel staff tells them it's an anniversary offer. Zhou Shi is happy when she returns to her room, but she's shocked when Wei Qing arrives. She realizes he found her through Min Chang and asks why he came without telling her. She tells him to proceed with the treatment with Dr. Chen, and when he reminds her of how she promised to accompany him through all this, she insists she needs space. In this conversation, it reflects that Zhou Shi feels burdened with his treatment, and Wei Qing apologizes. Zhou Shi takes him outside and asks why he's being so stubborn. Wei Qing responds that she needs to treat him. Zhou Shi, frustrated, asks, "Are we just friends, or am I your doctor, or are we in love?" Wei Qing hurriedly says that they only have a doctor-patient relationship. Zhou Shi, hurt, asks if he feels anything special for her. Wei Qing denies it, saying he considers her just a friend. When he asks if she feels something special for him, Zhou Shi hesitantly admits that she does. Later, Wei Qing feels regret for having referred to Zhou Shi as just a friend. He had never fallen in love before, so he didn't understand his emotions and was confused about his feelings. Then, a woman named Shili approaches him and asks him how he feels. Wei Qing tells her everything about Zhou Shi and his allergy. Shili laughs and says if his condition improves because of her, that would mean he must like her. Later on, when Shili leaves, Wei Qing realizes that he really likes Zhou Shi. Wei Qing continues his treatment with Dr. Chen, who recommends that he complete it at a resort. Zhou Shi agrees, and when she informs her friends, it turns out that everyone except Qiu Yujing is planning to go on separate trips. Later, Qiu Yujing receives a message from her online friend Bei, arranging a face-to-face meeting, and she is excited to meet him. Meanwhile, Wei Qing's uncle surprises everyone by pretending that Fei is his girlfriend. He had convinced her to play along because he had already told his sister that Fei was his girlfriend. Ning Fei is angry and jealous when he finds out, but Fei later clarifies that it was just an act, though Ning remains upset. Qiu Yujing, still confused about her feelings, arrives at the same resort where everyone else is gathered, explaining that she is there to meet a friend. Wei Qing, noticing the people, tries to get away from the place, but Zhou Shi tries hard to retain him. Everybody sat apart, and Wei Qing's mother called Zhou Shi for her table. Wei Qing's uncle began interrogating her about her relationship with Wei Qing. On this, Zhou Shi kept quiet. The uncle then speaks ill of Wei Qing, telling Zhou Shi to keep away from him and to date a guy like Ning Fei, for instance. At this juncture, Wei Qing intervenes and openly declares that Zhou Shi is his girlfriend because he now realized his real sentiments for her. He publicly confesses his love and kisses her in front of all the people. Zhou Shi, who was overwhelmed, runs away, and Wei Qing follows her. Meanwhile, Fei tells Wei Qing's mother that she is not actually his uncle's girlfriend. The uncle tries to speak to Fei, but Ning Fei chases him away. Meanwhile, Wei Qing catches up with Zhou Shi in her room. She asks him why he kissed her in front of everyone. Wei Qing responds that he did it because he likes her. Zhou Shi, still muddled in thought, reminds him of how he told her they were just friends. Wei Qing says he really was confused over his feelings, but now he is sure he loves her. It is still torn for Zhou Shi, so all she can say is that she needs time to process the event. This, Wei Qing reassures her. Takes her time, he is confident they will be with each other. Later they go racing, and in the process of racing, Wei Qing and Ning Fei's cars collide. Their mother comes and lashes out at Wei Qing, assuming he did it on purpose. Ning Fei hastily explains that he didn't, and it was just an accident. The mother still takes Ning Fei away. Wei Qing gets injured in the crash, and Zhou Shi gives him a massage, feeling shy seeing him topless. In the evening, Zhou Shi gets ready to go for the campfire with her friends. Wei Qing warns her to keep distance from Shuai. She agrees. Wei Qing's uncle leaves Fei and starts chatting with a new girl, leaving Fei alone. Her friends tease her to consider Ning Fei. He also likes her, and Ning Fei nods his head in agreement. Meanwhile, Ran Yu and Shuai hatch a plan to separate Wei Qing and Zhu Shi. Ran Yu sneaks into Wei Qing's room, imitating Zhu Shi's voice. Wei Qing opens the door. She rushes to hug him. Unfortunately, Wei Qing has an allergy because he does not like her touch. He says anyone who touches him develops that allergy. Ran Yu is frightened and runs away. Her web friend then sends a message to Qiu Yujing, stating that he will meet her the next day. Later that night, Wei Qing tells the antics of Ran Yu to Zhu Shi, and they laugh over it. But Ran Yu and Shuai do not stop there. They want to use Wei Qing's mother against him because he has rejected Ran Yu several times. In their plot, Shuai sends Ning Fei a message, supposedly from Wei Qing, and asks him to meet at the forest. Ning Fei arrives, but he realizes that something is wrong and that it is not Wei Qing in front of him. Before he can react, the imposter pushes him, resulting in Ning Fei falling down and seriously injuring his body. Ran Yu rushes to tell Zhou Shi that Wei Qing is fighting in the forest with Ning Fei, upon which Zhou Shi rushes to look for them. On the other side, Min Chang reveals himself as the secret online friend and proposes marriage to Wei Qing, and she agrees to it, enjoying his company. Zhou Shi finds Ning Fei and tries to help him but slips herself too. She shouts for help as she realizes that she didn't bring her phone along. She tells Ning Fei that someone else had him send the message, and that his pusher wasn't Wei Qing, because Wei Qing would never harm him. Then, poor Ning Fei faints. Wei Qing, Wei Qing, and Min Chang return to the resort, where Fei informs them that the whereabouts of Zhou Shi and Ning Fei are unknown. Wei Qing's mother, worried about Ning Fei, begs Wei Qing to search for him. They search around the area until they find Zhou Shi and Ning Fei. Fei carries Ning Fei and Zhou Shi is carried by Wei Qing. As they are leaving the forest, Zhou Shi shares everything that Ning Fei has said since he passed out to Wei Qing, including his constant apologizing for causing Wei Qing to be on bad terms with his parents. Later in the hospital, Ning Fei is treated and remains unconscious. During this time, Wei Qing and Min Chang announce their engagement, making everybody happy. Wei Qing's mother arrives at the hospital, very worried for Ning Fei. She is comforted that Ning Fei will be okay soon. In private, Wei Qing approaches his mother and asks, "Mother, how did my father die?" Of course, she says, he already knows what transpired since he was there when it did, to which Wei Qing says he recalls nothing of that day and has been plagued with nightmares about his father's blood-drenched body for 10 years. Mommy realizes that Wei Qing has been suffering as much as she does. She explains that Wei Qing's father had terminal cancer, but he refused to be treated as he would like to spend his time making Wei Qing become a better person. He had adopted Ning Fei, which made Wei Qing super rebellious, worsening the situation. Despite that, his father kept trying to help him. Wei Qing's mother does not tell him all the detailed information about how his father died but admits that Wei Qing also suffered during those years. The two finally forgive each other, both understanding the pain they have been going through. Later, Zhou Shi comforts Wei Qing. When Ning Fei gains consciousness, Fei is beside him. He thanks her, joking that he is very heavy. Fei laughs at his remark and says nothing more instead. Ning Fei kisses her. Wei Qing looks at how quiet it is and pulls the curtain to find them both kissing. Wei Qing does not disturb them instead. He kisses Zhou Shi too. At checkout of the resort, Zhou Shi learns Shuai was the one to coax Ning Fei into the forest, confronting him for it. Shuai says he only wanted to keep Wei Qing away from her because he thought Wei Qing had a contagious disease. Zhou Shi comforts him by pointing out Wei Qing actually lied about the allergy in order to get rid of Ran Yu. At this moment, Wei Qing arrives and reveals the real reason behind Shuai's hatred. Shuai thought that Wei Qing had stolen his true love, one of Wei Qing's ex-girlfriends. Wei Qing explains that the girl was only after his money and even threatened to commit suicide if she couldn't have him. Shuai realizes his mistake. Later, Wei Qing decides to conduct hypnosis with Dr. Chen to find the memory of the incident that killed his father. During the hypnosis process, he remembered quarreling with his father before he left the house to drink. Coming back home drunk, Wei Qing received a lecture from his father, but he didn't take it seriously and went to bed. Later, he was awakened by strange noises and found his door locked from the outside. Being unable to leave the room, he leaped out the window and into the house, where bloody footprints led to the study, where he found his father lifeless. Wei Qing bursts into tears, blaming himself for failing to save his father. Zhou Shi comforts him, and later on, Wei Qing points out that since the door was locked from outside, it would have been his father who did that. That soothes Wei Qing's heart as he understands he did it out of love. Ning Fei approaches Wei Qing and tells him that father loved him very much, though he didn't express it. He tells Wei Qing that father often praised him in front of others, but with Ning Fei's arrival, the attention of their parents shifted toward him, and that's how Wei Qing started rebelling. Ning Fei is truly sorry that he did not see this as a separating factor and claims he never had any intention of separating Wei Qing from their parents. He confesses that he always wanted to live happily with the family, but was too scared to speak to Wei Qing properly for fear he might be thrown out of the house. Then he gave an opinion about their father's death that more information could be found by looking into the police case files. Eventually, Wei Qing forgave Ning Fei and thanked him for being straightforward. Later on, Zhou Shi shows Wei Qing a letter that his father had written to him. His father told him in the letter how much he loved him, words he was never able to say to Wei Qing when he was alive. According to the letter, his father's sternness was merely because he wanted Wei Qing to become better, which is why he kept comparing Wei Qing with other people. However, he did not think that only made Wei Qing more rebellious. In the letter, his father says that even though Wei Qing enjoyed drawing, it was not actually his passion. He felt that Wei Qing had a business mind, for he made many profitable decisions, and he wished he would run the family company of Yunma Group since neither parent knew how to run it. His father also mentioned his fight with cancer, yet he mentioned that he was afraid not of death but to leave Wei Qing alone. He wanted to hug his son for the last time and say how much he loved him to find peace. The father asks him in the letter not to show this to mom and not to be sad after reading. Wei Qing gets choked up with emotion since he felt that he had never embraced his father lovingly. Later, he decides to go to America and inquires more about his father's case. Before leaving, he tells Zhou Shi to take good care of herself while away and promises each other to look after her during his absence. Wei Qing goes to the United States, and after some time, Shuai meets Zhou Shi. He then informs her that he has applied to a college in America and, on the sly, submitted her drawings along with his. That college is interested in her work, but she needs to pass some sort of language test for a scholarship. Stunned, Zhou Shi says that she never thought about studying abroad, yet Shuai encourages her to think about it, calling it a great opportunity. Later, Yu Jing and Min Chang get hitched, and their friends continue with the after-party to celebrate their getting married. Fei says she too wants to get married soon, but since Ningfei isn't of legal age yet, they'll wait. Zhou Shi also shares her opportunity to study in America, and her friends, though happy for her, ask if she has already told Wei Qing about it. Zhou Shi replies that she hasn't. The more time that passes, the more confused Zhou Shi gets about her feelings towards Wei Qing. Her friends try to help her get acquainted with how it feels to be in love. Zhou Shi nervously texts Wei Qing, who doesn't respond because he was so busy trying to investigate his father's death. It is shown through a flashback that Wei Qing's father was murdered. 2 robbers came into his house, and when his father tried to hinder them, one of them shot him. His father went into his room in a bid to protect Wei Qing, injured. He jammed the chair against his door from the outside, locking it before he got shot again. That was why Wei Qing could not open the door that night. Upon knowing the truth, Wei Qing becomes emotional, thinking of how his dad had protected him until his last breath. He thinks about how his father cooked for him every day, and he, due to pride, never sat with his father to dine. Now, Wei Qing is regretful that he couldn't stay with him any longer and wishes he could take all that back. Wei Qing decides to spend more time in America to digest all that has happened. His assistant informs Zhou Shi that Wei Qing will be late, and that for now, they don't have his contact number. Zhou Shi feels that probably Wei Qing wants to settle down in America, and she feels a little sad because he didn't call her. On her way to the language test, Zhou Shi cannot get Wei Qing out of her mind. Soon after, his assistant sends her a ticket to America. 2 months have passed since Wei Qing contacted her, but she finally boards a plane to America. Yet, she doesn't want to see Wei Qing in person but secretly follows him. Wei Qing soon catches on that Zhou Shi is tailing him, but he makes no move to approach her and instead waits for her to make the first step. But of course, Zhou Shi waits for Wei Qing to come to her. And thus, days drag on in this wordless stalemate. Later, Wei Qing learns his uncle has sold all the Yuma Art shares to Suzy. He proceeds to book his flight back home for both himself and Zhou Shi, and the assistant informs Zhou Shi of the flight details. Upon landing, Zhou Shi looks around outside the airport for Wei Qing and he surprises her as he calls out to her. He tells her how much he missed her, to which Zhou Shi asks, still angry, why he didn't come to meet her as soon as possible. It is then that Wei Qing says it is he who knew all along that she was following him in America and that he had waited for her to approach him on purpose. At this moment, a little girl holds Wei Qing's hand, and he does not have an allergic reaction. On hearing this, Zhou Shi rushes to hug him. Wei Qing says he has healed completely and is no longer carrying the guilt of his father's death. He asks Zhou Shi what their relationship is. She walks away without answering, her mood still a bit sour. Soon, Wei Qing meets with Suzy to discuss Yuma Art's shares. He offers her money, but Suzy refuses. Ningfei then tells Zhou Shi Suzy's background. They go to her house to have a word with her. There, they find the old photographs of Suzy and Ningfei during childhood. Confused, Ningfei asks about the photos, and thus Suzy tells him that she is his older sister, Ran. Ningfei is so happy, but Suzy tells him that although she's happy to see him again, business is business. She won't return the shares to Yuma Art. So Zhou Shi mediates and gives a deal if Suzy wants to sign with Shunren. Then she needs to give the shares back to Yuma Art. Since Zhou Shi holds the rights for the previous and future designs, Suzy gives in. Later, Wei Qing meets Zhou Shi at the swimming pool to which he comes every year, commemorating almost drowning as a child. When Zhou Shi collides accidentally with a man and fell into the water, Wei Qing plunges into the water and saves her. Both of them remind each other of the time when Zhou Shi had been saved from drowning. Wei Qing confirms that he was the one who saved her then, and an overjoyed Zhou Shi kisses him in gratitude. At the onset, she starts confessing her feelings to him, but then suddenly remembers her opportunity to study abroad. She informs him about that, and he is shocked. He pulls Zhou Shi to a side and asks her why she didn't say anything beforehand. Zhou Shi, acting nonchalant, says he looked busy working and wouldn't have noticed anyway. Wei Qing insistence counts because she is his girlfriend. Zhou Shi asks since when in a teasing manner. Wei Qing confidently tells her that she has always been his girlfriend. When Zhou Shi asks if he likes her, Wei Qing says he likes her a lot, and as a bold move, he loudly confesses his love in front of everybody. Finally, Zhou Shi professes her own feelings and asks if Wei Qing will wait for her as she goes abroad. Wei Qing promises, no matter how long, he will wait for her. They seal their love story with a kiss.